we're talking about Mother's Day. And in order to have Mother's Day, you've got to have children. So in order to be a mother, you have to have children. So the children are what mothers make them. If they are rotten as adults, they are what you make them. If they give you joy as adults, if you are proud of them as adults, they are what you make them. If you have adult children today and they break your heart, they are what you made them. If you have adult children today and you are proud to be their parents and you're proud to be their mother, they are what you made them. You can take credit for that. You put something in them, and over the long haul of their years of growing and learning, they are what you made them. Some people think this new generation and the generation before, the generation that says, I'm never going to spank my child. I'm never going to discipline my child. I'm never going to say, the Dr. Seuss's generation. They use the Dr. Seuss to raise their child. We're going to do timeouts and things like that. That's what we're going to use. We're going to use different rules. We're going to be our children's best friend to raise our kids. We're not going to use discipline. They're finding generations later, as their children become adults, that they don't like their kids so much. And their kids are somewhat, since they put nothing in them, their kids have no boundaries. There are no limits with them. There are no stopping points with them. When I say there are no limits, there are no controls. There are no inner controls within themselves to say, oops, this is wrong. Oops, this might hurt. They don't have any inner policing because it wasn't put in them as children. Because, anything goes, and that's what we raised our children to be. And when we attempt to be anything other than parents to our kids, we do them more harm than good. And y'all remember when your parents were parents, we didn't exactly like that. We didn't like their parenting methods. I know I didn't like my mama's. I thought she was cruel, unloving, harsh. I did not understand the woman. And then I grew up. And I had children of my own. And her fears became my fears for my children. I didn't understand growing up why mother would say that we could not spend the night at someone else's house. That was cruel. I did not understand why mother would say that we could not go to a dance in the community. everybody else was going. I did not understand why Mother would say, keep the doors locked when I'm not home. And then I grew up and I had my own children. And my children became latchkey kids. That's what we were, but it wasn't called latchkey kids when we grew up. It was just that Mama said, don't open that door, and you didn't open that door. And then I grew up and I had my kids and I had to work like Mama did. And my kids came home from school early and I had friends and neighbors who could have kept my kids, but I saw how they allowed their kids to go to and fro unsupervised. So rather than let my kids come home from school and go to them, an adult, I told my kids, go into the house and lock the door and don't come out until I come home. Don't open that door until I come home. I didn't understand my mother's methods until I became an adult, until I had children of my own. My mother's fears for me to protect me from harm became my own, because now here I was protecting my children from the things that I knew was out there in my own neighborhood. We lived in an apartment complex with nothing, just women, and there was one married couple, Mr. BC and Miss Joan, and the rest of us were single mothers. If you have adult children today, let me read my notes. If you have adult children today, and you did it, motherhood, and you did motherhood, and you did it in keeping with the Word of God, you look at them today with no regrets. If you raise your children in keeping with the Word of God, and I say this very carefully, you could have been raising your children in keeping with the Word of God as a mother and have not even been saved. You could have been a good mother, being a mother as God would have you to be, and had not yet even been saved. You could have been protective of your children. You could have been providing for your children. You could have been teaching your children. And you yourself didn't even know God. And if you did motherhood in keeping with the Word of God, you can look at your children now as adults, and you have no regrets about anything you did. My daughter says, Mama, Thomas always looks in the mirror and he sees that scar over his right eye. I say, Amy, if you quit telling him he got a scar over his right eye, he'll forget about it. One night, my 6-foot-something son thought he disagreed with his mother, and he thought he would attack me, hit me. So we were in the dining area near the kitchen, and I had like a china cabinet. And I reached over and I got a champagne glass and I clocked it. And his eye just went to bleeding. And I took him to the hospital. And the nurse said, "What happened?" I said, "He thought he was grown enough to attack his mother." And she clocked it. And she said, "Where's his mother?" I said, "Right here." She said, "Where?" I said, "It's me." My husband, number two, at the time said, "Shh, shh, shh, don't say that. Don't say that. They're going to throw you in jail." They went in, they talked to my son, they asked him what happened. He told them. They came back out and they looked at me and I asked them, "What's up?" And he said, "What you said." And I said, "Okay." So they treated him and stitched him up and sent him home. Now my son, 6 foot, probably 6 now, close to 250 pounds, lives in Houston, Texas with my 3 beautiful grandchildren, all boys, is raising my grandsons. And I had a conversation with him yesterday about my middle grandchild, day before yesterday, and I was telling him he needs a dad day once a month. I need you to wake him up in the morning about 8 a.m. on a Saturday, one Saturday a month. And I need you to say, "Hey, Jace, wake up. Come on, let's go." I need you to take him to breakfast. And I need you to spend the morning with him. I need you to give him that time. I said, "You know how mommy used to talk to you about life when you were little?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "I need you to do that for my grandson." I wrote myself a note here, and it says, "Never lose your children's ear." I'm talking motherhood this morning. I'm talking motherhood this morning. I see Carol's here. I see Vanessa's here. I see Donald Jones is here. I don't see a lot of our friends due to the fact I was not able to tag them today. I really hate that because this is more of a talk, a more of experience from myself. Parenthood, motherhood, fatherhood does not stop at 18 years old. It does not stop at 21 years old. If you are wise, if you are discerning, as a lot of us like to say that we are, spiritually connected, led by the Holy Ghost, if we are as connected to God's Spirit as we say we are, then we can still speak wisdom into the lives of our children, no matter how old they are. I like to tell my kids, I will always be your mommy, no matter how old you are. No matter how old you are, no matter how tall you get, no matter how many babies you have, Patricia's always gonna be mommy. And I'm always gonna have something to deposit in you. In Deuteronomy, I'm gonna go to Deuteronomy chapter 22 and 6. I want to read here. Let's see here. I don't think that is it. No, that's not it. But let's do Proverbs 22 and 6. going to start with Proverbs chapter 10, verse 1. And it says, these are Solomon, meaning King Solomon's Proverbs. So everything that we're going to hear after this, it says, these are Solomon's Proverbs. And you know that Solomon was the king and that God would give Solomon anything he wanted. And Solomon didn't ask for wealth and riches and land and kingdoms and people. Solomon asked God for wisdom and understanding. And God told Solomon he chose wise. So God gave Solomon wisdom, understanding, and discernment, which made him one of the wealthiest kings ever in the kingdom. So coming, they say Oprah is one of the wisest women in the world. What do they say? What's her name? The woman that Oprah picked up, Aisha, whatever. Everybody want to hear from her. Well, this is what Solomon has to say. He says, wise children make their fathers proud of them, but foolish ones bring their mothers grief. Foolish children bring their parents, their mom, grief, make their mom's hearts hurt. But a wise son makes their father proud, makes their mother proud. Remember, the topic is they are what you make them. So before we go into this, I'd like to say they are what you make them. Let's take it away from children. When you go to bake a cake, I asked my daughter recently about last year. I said, look, I need you to bake me a coconut cake. And she bought me a cake. She made me a cake and she brought it to me. And I called her back. I said, what you put in that cake? And she said, this and that now. I said, well, I don't know what you put in that cake, but that cake was terrible. I said, did you use this? She said, yeah. I said, did you use this? She said, yeah. I said, did you use real vanilla? She said, yeah. I said, did you use real butter? She said, no, I used margarine. I said, I said, that's the wrong thing. I say, did you use Duncan Hines real butter cake mix? She said, no, I used because I couldn't find it. I said, that's the wrong cake mix. How many of you know, if you are a baker or a cook, that ingredients matter? That your product is what you make it, what you put in it. You can't call yourself no baker trying to use no generic ingredients and think you're going to push it off to the public as number one. Tell me, the public knows if they know food, whether you have used prime ingredients. They are what you make them. Let's look at something else. When we were little, mother she had 6 kids, and she used to put a little something in this Christmas savings account, a little something in that savings account for the kids. And so when Christmas came, we all had a different amount, and then mother never said, I'm going to give this one more and that one. She just deposited a few pennies here and a few pennies there, and then at the end of the year, we would all get our checks and we would go shopping. The Christmas savings account was what mother made it. If she put no money in the Christmas savings account, there was no money in the Christmas savings account. It is what you make it. It is what you put in it. Children are what you deposit in them. Don't think if you don't put nothing in it, ain't nothing coming out. Proverbs 22:6 says, train up a child in the way he shall go, and when he is old, he will not depart. Guess what? If you don't train him, that's the way he gonna go. He gonna live his life like he had no home training. And he will not depart from that all the days of his life. He will live like he had no home training all the days of his life, because that's how you train him. That's what you put in him. Let's look at something else. Let's see here. What did I write? Today, I told you I had that talk with my son about my grandson. Well, before I had that talk with my son, I had a talk with my grandson. I started talking to my son about life and my daughter. My son was 4, my daughter was 10. They're 6 years apart. Me and mother used to get into it all the time. She thought I told them too much. I was learning from my own mistakes. I was learning from my mother's mistakes. I was learning from the mistakes of society around me. I was learning from the mistakes of the neighborhood I grew up in. Until this day, I never want to live there again. I have nothing but bad memories of that place. I go back, I visit. I'm not too good. I just don't want to live there. I just don't want my children to live there. Even though my daughter still live there, I can't get the girl to leave. We were close. I thought she was going to leave this time, but nope. She decided to stay again. She won't go. So here I am right now. The conversation I was having with my son when he was 4 until now, I'm now having with my grandson. I talk about babies. I talk about dreams. I talk about the decisions you make today will impact your life for the rest of your life. It's even scarier now. With all of this black on black crime, blue on black crime. I told my grandson, I told my son and your TT, I didn't want grandchildren. I told them to go adopt. I told them, don't bring any children into this horrible world. Because by the time I get grandbabies and they grew up, this place was going to be horrible. And I don't want any natural born grandchildren. I said, there are so many broken kids in this earth. Please go adopt. Don't have any natural born grandkids. And my grandson looked at me. I said, but your daddy and your mama didn't listen to me. Here you are. I said, so I'm saying to you, don't have any babies. Go adopt. There are too many hurting and broken babies for you to go bring a baby into this horrible, evil world. Don't have any babies. Go adopt. I'm saying this to my grandson. I said, that's what Nana wants. I know he gonna go have babies. But what I'm saying to you, they are what you make them. And don't you think it's too late because your children are grown. My daughter's daddy said to me when she was getting married, he He thought he was the first to tell me she was getting married. I said, I know, but she ain't getting married. He said, yes, she is. She told me. I said, no, she ain't. He said, why not? I said, because I ain't gave my permission. He said, she a grown woman. She don't need your permission. I said, yes, she did. He said, why? I said, because I brainwashed her that way while she grew up. She ain't getting married till her mama say yeah. So my daughter knew she would never say yeah till her mama says yeah. So she decided she would live with him since I would not say yeah. So finally she pushed me because she said she would live with him in sin, she said. So finally I said yeah, because she decided she was going to live with him if she couldn't marry him. That's how much training went into my daughters. See, I had this Brady Bunch vision, this Hollywood version of being a mommy in my children, because that was my idea of motherhood. I thought I could do this, and I did. And I am doing this. I still have my children's ear. I still say, hey, mama need to talk to you. All last week and the week before, I called my son darn near 21 days and say, hey, FaceTime me when you have a private moment. Hey. Now, when I was calling to say to my grandson, have JC FaceTime Nana. So my son kept after my grandson to say, Nana wants you to FaceTime her. So finally he did. They don't want to talk. It's like going to the principal office. They don't want to FaceTime Nana. See, Nana want to see your face. So when it was my son's time to FaceTime Nana, his mama, I said, you gonna FaceTime me today? I ain't heard from you. What's up? I must have called him, text him like 20 times before I got a response. And then when I got a response, he FaceTimed me without the video. Because I want to see the face. I say, I can't see you. He said, the video off. I say, I know, I can't see you. He said, I don't feel like coming on camera right now. I say, well, I want to see your face. That's why I asked you to FaceTime me. I want to see you when I talk to you. He said, I don't feel like coming on camera right now. I said, all right. See, I could have died on that hill about the camera. Or I could have pushed past it like I did to have the conversation I wanted to have. So I want to encourage you, mommy, to get back in the saddle. Because motherhood does not stop at the age of 18. It does not stop at the age of 21. And if you got grandbabies, I saw my grandson. We were there for my birthday in Houston. And my eldest grandson popped in, came over, kissed me on the cheek. And as we were getting ready to go, he got in his second car. First one taken out. I think, was this his third car or second car? Other ones got wrecked. So I went to the car to kiss him goodnight. He was already in the car. And his eyes was like that. I said, oh yeah, I got your freaking number, bud. So last month when I was talking to my middle grandson, I said, the next time Jaden comes over, you sit his butt in that chair and you tell him to FaceTime Nana. See, when Jaden, his birthday was in February. So I didn't just send some money. I like to send long notes. I said something like, you're grown now. And you're at the point where the decisions you make are your own. I said, make sure you avoid evil at all costs. You do not have unprotected sex. Now, Nana would like to say that you do not have sex until you're married, but I'm wise enough to say that ain't happening. So you do not have unprotected sex. And I said something else, a couple other things. And so when he came into the restaurant, he said, thank you, Nana. Because, see, that was the first thing I had to teach the boy. For like 5 years, I sent him a birthday card with some money in it, and he never said thank you. So the first thing I had to teach the boy was, in order to get another gift, you have to say thank you to people. That was the hardest thing to teach the boy. So he came over and he said, Nana, I got your birthday card. Thank you very much. And I said, you're welcome, baby. I said, did you see the note? He said, yes, Nana. I said, did you understand the note? He said, yes, Nana. Thank you very much. So my biggest task was to tell my grandson to say thank you for everything that people do for him. I said, because people don't have to do anything for you. So that was the biggest lesson I taught my grandson. And it took 5 years to teach him to say thank you. So currently I'm teaching my middle child to say thank you. Now the baby, he always says, thank you, Nana. Now he's going to get a little older and he's going to quit saying thank you. And Nana going to have to teach him to say thank you. Y'all, these are things that are falling by the wayside in society. Society is becoming so callous and so cold, and the things that were natural, yes ma'am, no ma'am, thank you for opening the door for me, please, no thank you. These things are becoming less and less common. These are things that are not just naturally bred into our children anymore. You have to put it in them. You have to soak. I was with a client last week, and there was a guy on the side of the road. And the client was in the back seat and he saw something, and I think the man on side the road was asking for help. And the client in the back seat said something ugly and arbitrary about the man on side the road. I said, hey, what's up with that? I said, you're in my back seat. I'm taking you across town for free. I picked you up at your home. I got out of my bed to help you. And you got the nerve to look at a man on side the street and scoff at him like you're something better than him? I said, what's up with that? I said, I'm helping you. You ought to want to help that man. What's up with that? I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. Oh, I'm just not going to say nothing. I say, yeah, you shouldn't say nothing if you can't say nothing nice. I say, what would provoke you to be so ugly to a man who can't even hear you? I'm the one that hear you. I'm in the car with you. I'm helping you. I'm serving you for free. And you got the nerve to deposit ugliness and ungratefulness in my ear? They are what you make them. You hear ugliness around you, you cast it down, you tear it down. We are God's people. We are his temple. We are the holiness of his temple. your children, your grandchildren, your family. There is no downtime with you if you are a believer. You don't get to let your hair down at home when your kids are around you. And I have a family member. Her son had just came home from prison. It was a holiday and things weren't going according to plan. And the MF started coming out with the cutting of the bird or the ham or whatever and this and that. And I'm like, how you gonna prepare your son for life after prison if you in the house, meaning the house of God, don't know how to conduct yourself like a woman of God in your own house? What's wrong with you? See, we don't get a day off when we belong to the Father. Oh, yeah, I don't know where this is. It's a proverb. Where is it? Oh, Lord, I love this. Deuteronomy 6 and 7. Deuteronomy 6. Verse 6 through 7 says, and we're going to close because I'm trying to add a little bit more driving time to where I'm going. I hate it because this is good. It said, and these words that I command you today shall be on your heart, and you shall teach them diligently to your children, and you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you rise in your house. Do you get that? See, Moses is speaking to the children of Israel, and he has just delivered to them the 10 Commandments. And he is saying to them that this shall always be on your heart. And you're going to teach them. See, the problem with society today, and the problem with our children today, the adults today, see, they used to be cute little kids when they said, MFS. When they were that little, they were cute. It was cute. And then we recorded it. And then they said it again in front of cousin, and they said it again in front of brother, and then they became a teenager, and then their pants dropped, and then you became scared of them, and then they became dominant over you, and then you couldn't tell them what to do, and then they stopped going to school, and then they start. See, it all started when they were cute. But Moses is saying to them, and these words that I command you today, they shall be on your heart, and you shall teach them diligently always. You shall be overbearing. You shall teach them to your children, and you shall talk of them when you sit in your house. When shall you talk of the word, the commandments? Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not commit adultery. So your son comes home and he brings his girlfriend, and you find out she's married to John Doe, but John Doe is in prison, and he brings home, and in the middle of the conversation, you find out that, Jessica, you still married? Yes, ma'am, but he's in prison. Well, I'm sorry, Johnny. Jessica got to go. She can't sit at this table because thou shalt not commit adultery. No adulterer shall sit at my table. So when do you get to talk about adultery? Do you get to wait until you get to the church? No. It says that you shall talk of them when you sit in your house and when you walk by the way. So when you're walking in the community, when y'all walking about, you're hanging with sister, and sister done told you, I got a call for my sister one day, and I'm single and I'm happy. And she told me, hey, so-and-so in town. And he saw my so-and-so, and he told my so-and-so he wants to see you. Do you want to see him? I said, no, don't want to see him. And I guess she went back and told her so-and-so that to tell my so-and-so that she don't want to see you. So I ain't heard nothing else for it. So sometimes people, when you're walking by the way in the community, they want to see, there has to be a standard that is in you. People want you to lower your level so that they can get comfortable in their stuff with you. You remember when I told you that my stuff said that your stuff was here, and that you said, yeah, you wanted to see your stuff? So that later when you tell them about their stuff, they gonna say, remember that. But that is not why you don't do it. You don't do it because your new stuff, his name is Jesus. And I can tell him all about my trouble. I married a new man. All things are passed away. All things have become new. I have no desire for anything that's dead. See, the problem with a lot of folks is they reaching for the dead thing. And see, the problem with a lot of kids is that your kids are watching you live the dead thing. They see you go to church on Sunday, or they see you not go to church at all. They see you be the preacher. They see you. They see you hitting beer. They see you. They know you. Your kids know you better than anybody else. So you are teaching them diligently as you sit in your house. Your kids are judging you in your house. Discipline your son, and he will give you rest, and he will delight your heart. Proverbs 29:17. As a child, this is what you should be saying to your children. As an adult, you should be saying this to your children. Here, my son, if you're a young mom and a young dad, I mean, this is an exciting time. You can decide, oh, now I'm going to get it right. I'm not going to do what I did before. I'm not going to be like my mom. I'm not going to mess up my kids. Some parents are not fit to be parents, and kids deserve to be taken away because they screw them up. Psychiatrists often blame mommy for messed up kids. And I'd like to say, I agree. I agree. Some kids, some parents do not deserve to have their children if children are going to grow up and be productive members of society. Children should be removed early from those parents. I worked for CASA. My first case, my last case, very bad case. I had the police department. I had Homeland Security. My little girl was 10 years old. She was a meth addict. She was a prostitute. I brought all these people to court. Mommy was in jail. Grandmother had her. Grandmother was involved in all of this, and the court gave her back. When the police department and Homeland Security recommended relocation, the court gave her back. I said, if this is how it goes, I can't do this. If there was any child, I even went to the school, and it was the guardian, the guidance counselor who told me this child was on meth. See, I didn't know what meth looked like. The guidance counselor told me, don't you see her mouth? I said, yeah, she needs some dental work. She said, no, honey, that's a meth mouth. I didn't know what meth looked like. Then the poor little girl thought she was gay. And I decided I could not do CASA because CASA had this thing about ultimately reuniting the children with their family. Now, that could have been the goal, but right then and there, no, that should not have been the goal. So that was my first and last case. Some parents are not fit to be parents, and some children should be removed as early as possible from the custody of their family, even their grandmothers. Wise children make their fathers happy. Only fools despise their mothers. Stupid children are happy with their foolishness, but wise do what is right. Foolish children bring grief to their fathers and bitter regret to their mothers. Correction and discipline are good for children. So, if you're a young parent out there and you got some kids and you still have time, it said, Proverbs 29:15, correction and discipline are good for children. If they have their own way, they will make their mothers ashamed of them. Didn't I say that if they have their own way, they will become ashamed of themselves? It says that the mothers would become ashamed of them. Proverbs 22:6 again, train up a child in the way they should go. Even when they are old, they will not depart. Do not, Proverbs 23:1-14. And this is all going back to the subject matter that says what you put in them is what they are, what you make them. If you deposit money in the bank, you will have retirement. If you do not deposit money in the retirement, you do not buy stock or retirement, you have no retirement when you get old. Do not withhold discipline from a child. If you strike them with a rod, they will not die. If you strike them with a rod, you will save their soul from hell. How many parents now wish they had struck their child discipline with their butt? Their kids are dead or in jail. Here it says, if you strike them with a rod, you will save their soul from hell. Many young people are dead and in hell. There is no way to justify how they went out where they are. We'd all like to say everybody goes to heaven. If they are old enough to understand that they have committed a crime, that they have committed murder, they are not in heaven. Everybody want to tell a thug, rest in heaven. I'm here to tell you, if you live a thug life and you've got blood on your hand, you can tell them rest in heaven all you want. But they will find themselves in the pit of hell, the Bible says, with the rich man who looked at Father Abraham with Lazarus and said, would you please send him to dip his finger in a pool of water so that he may put it, just a drop, on my tongue. Thugs ain't going to heaven unrepented. A repentant thug, yes. Unrepentant? No, baby. So here it says, if you strike your child with a rod while he is young, you will save that soul from hell. And these are the words that I command you this day, that they shall be in your heart. and you shall teach them diligently, repeatedly, persistently to your children, and you shall talk of them when you sit in your house. When shall you talk of them? At home. And when you walk by the way, when you're in the community, when you're in the car, when you're at the grocery store, and when you rise, when you wake up in the morning, when you're going to sleep at night, at all, not just at the church house. Don't just leave it to the preacher and the Sunday school teacher. You are to be the example. Don't you know you're the walking Bible that your children and grandchildren are watching? Whoever spares the rod, Proverbs 13:24 says, hates his son or daughter. But he who loves him or her is diligent to discipline him. Happy Mother's Day. They are just like a cake, just like a bank account, what you make them. Thank you for being with us this morning. I pray this message has been a blessing to you. If you have opportunity to sow wisdom into your children, you still have opportunity in your children. You just think you off the hook because they're grown now. Nah. But if you have grandchildren, just pray for wisdom. Take some of those grandparent moments. Don't just try to buy them. Teach them some. Sow some wisdom in your grandchildren. Where you messed up with your children, pray for the salvation of your children. And start sowing some wisdom in your grandchildren. I like to tell my son, since he don't always take my word about salvation, I like to talk about his grandparent, his grandmothers. He used to spend a lot of time with them at the Baptist convention every year. So I will say, the God of your grandmothers, Georgia and Augustine. Remember the God of your grandmothers. I love it. I love sowing in my seed. And I know God is going to. I pray I can see it in this life. But if I am dead and gone, I know God has got this. I know he's got this. I know he's got my seed. I know he's got my grandsons. I know he's got my great-grandchildren. And even those that are adopted into the fold. Y'all be blessed. Have a great day. Happy Mother's Day.